Welcome, listener, to The Framework, the next great hit show, fast-tracked and streaming direct to wireless radio, a bold new program examining the rise of capitalist enterprise and corporate innovation post-World War II, seen through the lens of people that weren't actually there. Part documentary, reconstructing the reimagination of definitive accounts of the operations of the corporate juggernaut, Worthington and Sons, and part incomprehensible slop clearly written by an unqualified muppet under the severe influence of drugs, and definitely not the good kind. That's the last time I'm hiring writers from that new freelance marketplace. Hirehole. I mean, it's so easy to get excited by their slick marketing. Hirehole, putting people where they fit, permanently. Well, as they say, the clarity of hindsight. Anyway, the show, it was the 1950s. An age of cheerful conformity, cigarettes in hospitals, polished linoleum, and mayonnaise-based cuisine. At the offices of Worthington Sons, business was booming, though Director of Business Development, Peter Wells, couldn't fathom why, and had become increasingly convinced he belonged to an entirely different company upstairs. Worthington was an institution and longtime industry leader, the envy of the big end of town. So too was its uncompromising founder, Sir Alfred Worthington, Sr. Jr. Sir Alfred understood how to capitalize on trends and the importance of scientific claims over actual science. True success came during the radium health craze. The company's stock skyrocketed, but it didn't last. In a spate of bad luck, Worthington hit financial trouble following multiple law enforcement investigations into their most popular health tonics during Prohibition, and coincidentally made from pure alcohol. At the same time, the company suffered a huge brain drain with a freakish and coincidentally, but not unexpected, high number of employees dying from suspected radiation poisoning. But true to form, and through the use of several Phoenix companies, Worthington survived to become a re-emerging industry titan, albeit emerging from another bankruptcy and via a new company, continuing to trade off the same name, re-emerging nonetheless. The company was now industry leader, and proof that lightning really can strike twice, though in Worthington's case it had already struck 6 times, and, as outlined extensively in the shareholders' court filings, was now widely considered more of a pattern of unethical gross negligence and criminal enterprise. With its resurgence, Worthington was seen as an inspiring, real-world example of meritocracy and the American dream, that through hard work and significant generational wealth, anyone can succeed and become rich. The company's greatest export has remained a tightly held secret. Long-held rumors circulate of an unpatented technology of a patent, which is the intellectual property equivalent of blank paper clipped to slightly different blank paper. In any event, the indisputable fact is that Worthington was at the epicenter of post-war commerce for one reason, in addition to blatant corporate corruption, and probably to a much lesser and somewhat insignificant extent, Bernard Worthington, Jr. An innovator and considered to be, by some, most unconvincingly, the pioneer of market disruption, and the son of Sir Alfred Worthington, Sr. Jr., founder of Worthington Sons. Their lineal success was no coincidence. Obscene wealth maybe, but no coincidence. In fact, historians now believe the Worthington bloodline carried a rare hereditary condition in which complete misunderstanding, blind confidence, and total detachment from reality repeatedly evolved into profitable enterprise. Through groundbreaking genetic research and eyewitness anecdotes, historians trace the condition back to Bernard's grandfather, Sir Willie Worthington, Sr. An instantly recognized figure, Willie is most widely known as the inventor of the tea curtain, a device he insisted represented the next evolutionary leap in gentlemanly beverage etiquette and deportment. Though presented publicly as a revolutionary refinement of the traditional moustache guard, historians, patent offices, and several surviving members of the Worthington legal department would later describe it more accurately as a direct and astonishing theft. What followed became known as the War of the Whiskers, a savage industrial rivalry between Worthington and rival inventor Percival Sneedham, creator of the original mustache guard. It was the solution to a problem affecting the daily lives of men worldwide: the consumption of tea without exposing their mustache to steam, dairy, or liquid engagement. Newspapers of the era breathlessly compared the feud to the later rivalry between Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. If both men had dedicated their lives not to electricity, but to preventing Earl Grey from entering facial hair. By 1894, both inventors were unveiling increasingly elaborate prototypes involving steam vents, anti-splash curtains, telescopic crumb flanges, and what one coroner's report delicately referred to as avoidable porcelain complications. Some legal scholars suggest the associated liability claims paved the way for the later expansion in torts law and was a classic example of the necessity of consumer protection laws. As with the tea curtain, today's conveniences, corporate greed, and gluttonous consumerism continues to enrich lives, albeit not positively or in ways that make logical sense. But paradigmatic change and global innovation doesn't come from a desire to uplift others, nor altruism. It comes from inspiration and the rare combination of unwarranted self-confidence, ignorance, incompetence, and dumb luck. This is the story of Worthington Sons, an old-fashioned company that has existed for 70 years, under various different names for, let's just say it was to maintain continuity of operations. No different to any other company, Worthington was defined by paperwork, hierarchy, tea, filing cabinets, and an absolute fear of change. This was until the day catastrophe arrived in the form of Bernard, and he was wearing pants, and more concerningly, he was wearing a necktie, sitting on his collar like a frightened eel, looking less business executive and more kid forced to dress up for court, cinched like he learned from a pirate using signal flags, resembling a hostage negotiation between silk and gravity, sitting under his chin like a defeated bat, tied with all the precision of a blindfolded butcher, hanging there with the tragic dignity of a wet newspaper, looking as though it had been installed rather than tied. I think you get the picture. Worst of all, when Bernard arrives at Worthington Sons, progress arrives with him. Progress was in the form of a giant, electronic, artificial, intelligence machine. He'd purchased it from an encyclopedia salesman and part-time Tupperware representative, now turned management consultant, because why wouldn't he? Progress has an immediate effect at Worthington. Within weeks, productivity collapses, meetings become permanent, legal invoices multiply, the accounts department begins emotionally deteriorating, and the machine itself starts issuing management directives. Management insists, progress is being made. Well, actually, it's just Bernard, but his dad runs the company, so, yeah. Stay tuned to find out what happens next on The Framework.